Welcome to the Five and Dime on Where There's a Wills.
There's a play.
My name's Ian.
I'm Stacey.
I am your mid-complexity and below gamer who also solo games.
I am your non-gamer gamer who enjoys low to mid complexity games.
Today we are here with our Five and Dime of our top new to us games for 2024. I will be giving you my top 10 and Stacey will be giving you her top 5. Now, for the first time ever, I don't know what her rankings are. In our past Five and Dimes, we've always done it on my account. I set her up with a Pub Meeple account yesterday, and she did her rankings. Mm-hmm. And so I'm kind of interested to see what her rankings are. And I did my rankings. I also did her rankings to see how well I know her. And I think 3 of my top 10 new to me games are going to be on her top 5 because I do a lot of solo gaming.
Okay. How many games did you play this year? New to game.
I have 33 new games on the table. I'm not counting games on BGA.
Okay.
So I have 33 new games on the table, and there's at least 2 games there were 3 games actually that were new to you this year that I have played solo on the table previously. So they won't be on my list, but they're on your list.
Okay. I'm going to say I have 2 on my top 5 that are going to be in your top 10.
Okay, so she says there's 2 crossovers, and I say there's 3. Before we get to our actual Five and Dime, we do have a couple honorable mentions. Like I said, I played 33 new to me games on the tabletop, and I'm going to give you my next 5 that did not make my top 10 in alphabetical order. And that is Duo, Catan Jr., which I played at my board game club at school. I really enjoy that game. Flamecraft, The Fox Experiment, and Shelfie Stacker.
Okay, and I only play on the table. I don't enjoy playing online at all. And so these are only games that I brought to the table, and I had 20 new games that I've learned this year, which isn't terrible.
Not bad.
And my 3 honorable mentions are Ice Cream, Shelfie Stacker,
Crossover there on the honorable mentions,
and Trash Talk.
My number 10 new to me game this year is a polyomino game where you are filling your junk drawer, and that is Junk Drawer. I really like this game. It is a game where you have 4 different sections in your quadrant. You have 4 different quadrants in your drawer. Each quadrant scores differently. Some might be based on how many different spaces you have filled, not filled, or other exterior, interior spaces filled. The interesting thing about this one is everybody is placing the same piece of junk at the same time. And each round, you can only place 1 piece in every quadrant of the drawer. So you have 4 face down cards. You flip 1 over at a time. You have to place that somewhere. You don't have to place it the same place as someone else. And you're both scoring the same 4 scoring cards, but you may not be placing things in the same spot. And I like the fact that you are playing them, you're scoring the same things, but you're placing them in different quadrants, and you don't know what's coming up next. So that would be Junk Drawer, my number 10. My number 9 game is a game that I've only played solo so far, but I hope to teach it to Stacey at some point, and that comes to us from KTBG, and that is Power Plants. Power Plants is a tile laying game where you are placing tiles into a common grid, and when you place your plant tiles, you can either you can activate plant powers or grow powers. And when you do this, you are also looking to have majority in each one of the tiles sections that are the same color tiles so that you can score the most points. I really like the game. I love KTBG. I have just the retail version, and it is already high quality. And I'm already thinking about possibly getting the deluxe version directly from KTBG at some point and taking the retail version into my board game club at school. But that won't be for quite a while. So that is my number 9, Power Plants. And like I said, that is one I have only played solo. My number 8 game comes to us from Button Shy, and it is a solo-only 18-card game called Unsurmountable. Unsurmountable is a card game where you are working your way from your base camp to the top of a mountain, starting with 4 cards at the bottom, placing 3, then 2, then 1 in a triangular format. And all you have to do is connect a path from the start all the way to the top of the mountain, which sounds really easy, except for the paths are really crazy looking sometimes, and they don't always connect. But you do have the ability to use cards in your draw row. Can't remember exactly what it's called, but in the row of cards that you have in front of you to use their powers, but you discard them. If you use their powers to move stuff around or do different things, you also have to discard that card, and you can't use that path. So you have to be very careful with which powers you're using on a card, because you might really want that path later on, and if you can't do it, you can't place it. Or if you've used it, you can't place it. And when you place them, you have to place them either next to or on top of other cards so that they are actually sitting on something. So you can't place it so there's a space below it. That is Unsurmountable by Button Shy Games, and this one is quickly moving up my Button Shy list collection. Number 7 on my list comes to us from my favorite game company, and it is a civilization game with some polyomino buildings that you're putting onto your mat and some other area control, area majority items, and some attacking and some different tracks that you're moving on, and that is Tapestry. Now, this game would be higher on my list if I was counting BGA, because I've really enjoyed playing this one on BGA multiplayer. I do enjoy it on the tabletop, but it is a big setup, and that's why it falls kind of to number 7 on my list for tabletop only, because I only play it solo. It's not one that Stacey's probably going to ever play. Like I said, I do really enjoy this game. I have enjoyed it a lot on BGA with 2 and 3 players, and I might try and get a 4-player game going at some time. But that is Tapestry from Stonemaier Games. My number 6 games comes to us from Thunderworks Games, and that is Cape May. Is a game where you are moving your character, your worker, around Cape May, and you are developing cottages, building them into Victorian homes, upgrading them into historic landmarks, and you're also establishing shops and growing them into businesses. There is some action points available. You go over. The game is played over 4 seasons, 3 rounds each season, which is some little abilities and some different things that come up during the seasons. You have some hand management in there. Like I said, you're moving around the sidewalks, basically the roads, and you're building things in different locations, trying to build the most in different areas so that you can score the most points. And that is Cape May by Thunderworks Game. Now moving on to our top 5. And I'm looking at my list, and I'm looking at the list I made for Stacey. And I goofed earlier when I said I thought there was going to be 3 crossovers. My number 10 junk drawer, I thought was going to be, I was reading my rankings of her stuff wrong. That I actually had ranked a little lower on hers. Now watch it be in her top 5. So I think there's actually going to be 2 crossovers based on my top 10 and what I think her top 5 are going to be. I will say that 2 of her honorable mentions, which were her 6 through 8, just in alphabetical order, I did have in the 6 through 8 section. So I think I'm doing pretty good here. I did have 2 of her honorable mentions in that 6 through 8 section, which she did mention earlier. So
do we have proof to back this up?
Oh, yes, I got the sheet right here.
All right.
I can show you when we're done.
I'm sticking with my 2.
She's thinking, okay, so we're both saying there's 2, and they're going to be in our top 5. So if
I don't know which games. I'm just saying. I think it's going to be 2.
Okay, all right.
That's how I roll.
But hey, if we got 2 in our top 5, that should give you guys some good options for non-gamers and mid-complexity gamers alike. Because if we both think these are 2 of our top 5, and she had 20 new games and I had 33, that means it must be good for both of us. So let's move on to our top 5.
And my number 5 is one that I have talked about quite a bit. I think my last 3 videos that I talked about, I just can't stop talking about this stinking game. And that would be Can't Stop.
I had that as for number 5.
Oh,
I'm 1 for 1.
Man. So I love that game. Obviously, it's not in my top 1 through 4. I don't love it that much, but I do like that game. I just like to be able to press my luck a little bit more, and it's not a normal game that we have. That the other games that we have. I like being able to roll my dice. I like being able to get that 6 and that or the 12 and the 2 and move it up. So can't stop. Number 5.
Okay. I had that as her number 5. So I'm 1 for 1 in her top 5.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what else comes up. All right. So I'm doing pretty good on hers because I had 3 of her honorable mentions, 2 of her 3 honorable mentions too. My number 5 game comes to us from Dranda Games, and that is Pioneer Rails. I love my rolling rights. I love my flipping rights, and Pioneer Rails has quickly moved up my list of my flipping rights. I think it was number 2 when I did my 5 and dime. I'll link some videos that go with some of these. I also did a playthrough of this. I really like the use of the dual purpose cards. The dual purpose cards are just your poker cards, your 9 through ace, and they are also colored. Each suit is a different color. You are making a poker hand each round, which is 5 cards when you are playing, and you're doing that to do some scoring. And the color of the card allows you to move or extend your railways 3 spaces. And as you do that, you are encircling different hexes. And when you put either 1, 2, 3, and I think one of them even has 4 lines around a hex, you get some different abilities. It's a really great game. I love it. I love my rolling rights. Like I said, I think it was number 2 on my flipping right list when I did my 5 and dime for flipping rights and rolling rights. It'll probably be in my top 10 overall since it was number 2 on that list. And that is Pioneer Rails.
And my number 4 is a game that I was introduced to begrudgingly to start with. I thought it was going to be too complex for me. It looked a little complex when I looked at the board. But the theme of the game is what really drawed me into it because it's all about dogs. And so my number 4 is Bark Avenue. I mix my love of New York City along with my love of dogs, and I get to take a bunch of dogs walking around some New York towns. Got to let them poop and pee and potty and have water and playtime, all while you're gaining points. So how can you go wrong? So that is my number 4, Bark Avenue.
And that is her number 3. So I did have it in her top 5 though. This one is not new to me this year. I did play this solo 2 or 3 times last December when we got it. So it's not new to me this year. I did think it was going to be on your top 5 though. I had it at number 3 though. So I think number 3 and number 4 are probably mixed up. It is a great game. I really enjoy. I enjoy playing it. The solo mode is pretty brutal, the opponents, but I do love playing that 1-2 player. And we may be talking about that one more coming up here in the next couple months.
Ooh.
Yeah, another great game. But I did have that in her top 5. I had it at number 3 though, so okay. I'm kind of interested to see if I just mixed up number 3 and 4. I do think I have all of her top 5. My number 4 is one that I do believe is going to be a crossover. In fact, I'd be shocked if it's not a crossover. And that is Summer Camp, which comes to us from Buffalo Games. Bark Avenue comes to us from Terradice Games. And in Summer Camp, you are doing some collecting of some cards to build your deck, and you are racing across 3 different tracks. I like the variability of it. You are doing different things with the cards. The cards do some different things. They allow you to move. They allow you to get some extra items. You're racing across 3 different tracks. You get some bonuses as you race across them, depending on how quickly you get across certain spots. And when you get to certain spots, you get them. The other thing I really like about this game is the variability. There are 9 different sections on your camp trails that can be mixed up. So right there, that's like thousands and thousands and thousands of combinations, without even talking about the fact that there are 7 different activity decks. And you mix each one of those activity decks different ways. You only choose 3 of them each game. This game very quickly moved up our lists when we learned it early this year. It has been on at least one of our Five and Dimes, and it was on both of our lists for the Five and Dime. I know it's one of her favorite ones of this year. I know it's going to be on her list. I think it's going to be quite a bit higher, but we will see. And that was Summer Camp by.
And my number 3 is a game that I've recently learned. I think we both recently actually learned this game because it just came out, I believe, this year. And it's a game that lets you travel from Tokyo to Kyoto, which I have learned a lot about because the cards teach you a little bit about the culture and the restaurants and food and activities there are to do in this certain game. So number 3 is Let's Go to Japan.
Huh.
Love that game.
Coincidentally, that is also my number 3 new game
Wow.
for this. It is a great game. You've got the closed drafting where you're taking a card and then putting cards face down on the other person's board is really interesting. So they don't know what they're getting. And then every few rounds, those are the only cards that they can take. And you're also doing some set collection based on which icon is on each day. It's a really fun game. It has quickly moved up both of our lists. I think this one has staying power with us. When we do a big cull at some point, I don't see this game going anywhere. We both really enjoy it. It has a solo mode that is really easy and really kind of relaxing for me as well. And those kind of games are games that are going to stay. Like as we get more games and get rid of a lot of games, those games that we both enjoy playing and then have a solo mode are really good. And yeah, like you said, you like the learning part of it. It's really fun. And yet there is still quite a bit of thinkiness to it.
Yeah, there really is. You need to figure out where you're going to put your card to see, if you're going to lose points, gain points, get your train so you can access Kyoto and Tokyo without going back and forth too many times. So there's a kind of puzzle-ish style to it.
Yeah, you don't want to move back and forth because then you need trains. If you don't have the trains, then I did have this as her number 2. So I think the game that I had as her number 4 is going to be her number 2. And I'm actually going to be very surprised. I'm actually pleasantly surprised with this. So,
well, we'll see. And now for my number 2.
Which I think I have. I will be
What do you think it is?
I will be surprised if your number 1 isn't your number 1. And if there's some, just so you know, if there's some stalling on our internet, we're getting some Wi-Fi problems here. So this might not be the best quality at this point. We keep on getting a thing popping up on our thing, but I'm not sure if that's going to actually affect it or not. I think your number 2 is Beacon Patrol because I'd be shocked if the one I have as your number 1 is not your number 1.
Okay.
So what's your number 2?
My number 2 is a game that reminds me of my childhood. Reminds me of going to summer camp at Legendary Lodge in Montana, spending the summer at the lake with my friends. And so my number 2 is a deck building game called Summer Camp.
Okay, I'm shocked. I had that as her number 1. Which means that may have spoiled her number 1 unless she's really shocking me. Wow. Okay.
So I love that game. It's a deck building game. It's the first deck building game that I learned. It's fun. You get to move up and down the board or up the board. And like Ian said previously, there's so much replayability with this game. It's endless what you can do with it and the different combinations of cards that you can put with it. I win a lot, so it's probably why I like it a lot. So
should I check that? Should I check the stats?
No, let's not do that. But I do like it. It's my number 2.
Okay, I had that one as your number 1. So, man, do I not have her number 1, or is her number 1 what I had at number 4? Which I'm going to be pleasantly surprised. And if it's not on there, I'm going to be if her number 1 is not what I think it is, I'm going to be absolutely shocked. My number 2 game, I'm a little late to the party on this one. This one came out 4 years ago, and that is Lost Ruins of Arnak. I had heard about it, and I looked at the board several times, and I was very intimidated by the board. It is another deck building game Stacey probably knows what I'm talking about because it was set up on the table when we talked about summer camp a few months ago. And she looked at it and she was the same way. I looked at this game over and over and over. And the board, I think just because the graphics are so elaborate on it, it intimidated me and my comfort level as to where I was in my gaming. And I finally, late last year, I finally watched a playthrough of it and I went, oh, that's not as intimidating as I thought it was. And it has really risen up my list. It is a deck building game. It is a worker placement game. You're exploring, you're doing resource management, everything I like. I didn't know I really liked deck building until summer camp in this game because I've played a couple other that weren't really up my alley. Worker placement, resource management, everything I really enjoy in the game. Great game. I love playing it solo. I've played it on BGA a few times. That doesn't take into effect this. I just love playing this game. I love the solo mode. It's really easy to run. I am at some point, I think I'm going to get the expansion, which adds a campaign, which will add more to the solo mode because I can work through some scenarios. And I really like that idea for that type of game. There's some that I don't, but that one I really do believe that it's going to be really fun. I said, Lost Ruins of Arnak, you're exploring different things. You're gaining tools. You're gaining relics. You're going up a temple track. You're exploring things. Everything I like. Deck building, worker placement, resource management. Really great game. Lost Ruins.
And my number one game, I want to watch his expression
Which
as I say
I'm
this.
still stunned it wasn't summer camp because I know how much she loves summer camp. So
I love me some summer camp.
I'm very interested to see what her number one is. And the only one in the top 5 that she hasn't named yet, I had as her number 4. So I'm going to be stunned if this is number 1. And if it's one that I had below that, I'm going to be shocked because I'm pretty positive I have her top 5. So what is your number 1 new game this year?
So my number 1 game, I originally kind of saw Ian playing this as a solo game. And I was like, ooh, that looks kind of cute. What you doing over there, mister? And so he's like, well, I'll teach you how to play this game. That's my impersonation of him. Let me teach you how to play this game. And I was like, okay. And I jumped into it head first. And I love me some Beacon Patrol. Number 1.
Not how that scenario went at all, but okay.
Not really.
Okay.
But it's close. My impersonation may be a little bit off. But Beacon Patrol, it's a tile laying game. I think it's for 1 to 4 players or something.
Yeah.
I don't read that part of the box. But just basically, we've talked about it in our previous videos. You're trying to surround certain tiles to get points. And I've always wanted to see a lighthouse. So that was one of my interests in playing it, is I got to see a lighthouse.
Well, if that's all it takes, then I'm introducing you to Cape May because there's a lighthouse in it. Perfect.
But I do like Beacon Patrol. So are you shocked?
I am. I did have her top 5. I did not have them in that order. I had Beacon Patrol at 4,
Ooh.
Bark Avenue at 3, Let's Go to Japan at 2, and Summer Camp at 1.
Huh.
I think the most and 2 through 4, I think could have went anyway. And I think I had Let's Go to Japan higher because it was more recent to us. So I figured maybe it would jump up at her
Fresher
5,
in my memory.
I'm stunned that Summer Camp isn't number 1 because I know how much she loves it. So the fact that Beacon Patrol is number 1 and I had it as her number 4, I like it. It's tile laying, and tile laying games are just a lot of fun.
Not my thing normally. I mean, I do like tile laying games, but like I'm not a person who can match the shapes and say this shape needs to match in with that shape. So it's not doing
the spatial part of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's more with the polyometer.
Yeah. These are all
square. These ones are square.
They're square?
These ones are square.
Oh, it's my number 1 game and they're square. So they're all the same shape. So all you got to do is match the picture for the most part and get your little person to move around and get them around the land. And that part I can do.
Yeah.
So,
I'm excited that's our number 1 because we do have the expansion Ships and Shores that gives asymmetric boat powers pre-ordered. So I'm really
Oh.
excited to get that because then we can play with different boats and they can do different things. This one wasn't on my list because I played it last year quite a bit solo, and I did introduce it to her this year. I will say this is a game that I like solo, but when you start adding players and you can trade tiles back and forth and you can start exploring multiple parts of the ocean around the islands, it really shines because you can work in multiple places. And I really like the game. So nice. Number 1, Beacon Patrol. I'm not so surprised that Beacon Patrol is on our top 5. I'm more shocked that Summer Camp was number 2 and Beacon Patrol jumped ahead of it. All right.
I think I dozed off when I was doing my ranking and I just pushed one.
Maybe. We'll see. You could have switched them.
I could have.
All right. My number 1 is my second Stonemaier game on this list. It is a new game this year. It is the spiritual successor to Wingspan, and that is Wormspan. Wormspan, I love the theme. I love dragons. I've always been a huge fan of dragons. I love how you are excavating caves before you can actually find dragons. I just like everything they did with this versus Wingspan. They took out some of the things that I didn't like so much in Wingspan with the dice and the randomness of the dice. I do feel like as far as solo, and also I think the solo AI in Wormspan is just much better. It feels more like an opponent. It has a multi-tiered system of things you're doing. I like the Dragon Guild track. I just like everything about Wormspan. It's a great game. You're moving across, you're building out your different caves with different types of dragons. And that's my number 1. It's Wormspan from Stonemaier Games. So we ended up with 2 crossovers, which you said originally, and I changed to because I looked at the list wrong. One of them was a true crossover, and that was Let's Go to Japan at number 3. So that one was a great game. So Summer Camp and Let's Go to Japan, both on my top 10. Actually, both were in our top 5s for new games to us this year. So if you're looking for some new games as kind of a mid-complexity gamer who does like some just casual play, or a gamer non-gamer or non-gamer gamer, gamer non-gamer,
gamer non-gamer,
gamer non-gamer, gamer non-gamer, yeah,
gamer non-gamer,
gamer non-gamer.
Yep.
I think non-gamer gamer, casual gamer, non-gamer gamer. I don't know. We can never remember which one we're saying. So whatever it is, non-gamer gamer. Okay, non-gamer gamer. Okay, so as a casual, mid-complexity and below gamer, and as a non-gamer gamer, there's 2 suggestions, I guess I would say, Summer Camp and Let's Go to Japan, that both hit for both of us so far this year in our top 5. Both of them were in our top 5 and new to us games, and 2 different games. So a lot of fun. And had Beacon Patrol and Bark Avenue been new to me this year, they would have been in my top 10, I think. I think they would have probably moved into my top 10 because I do really like Bark Avenue and I do really like Beacon Patrol. So I'm pretty sure that those would have been in my top 10 overall. So there you have it. There's our 5 and dime for our top new to us games so far for 2024. We will redo this list at the end of the year where we will have more new to us games, and maybe we'll do a bigger list because we will have a lot more. Maybe we'll double this list or something.
It's hard for me to remember.
It is, but we'll get them.
I'll
I mean,
try.
it's hard for me to remember. I mean, I'm sitting there going, okay, I'm trying to think of how to play each game as we compare them. We use Pub Meeple to compare them. So there you have it.
There you go.
The 5 and dime.
I'm Stacey.
I'm Ian, and we'll see you next time
at the table.
If you like this video and want to see more, please hit that subscribe button up above and hit that like button down below. And you can also follow that link to the rest of our 5 and dimes, our monthly 5 and dimes, and the other 5 and dimes we've done. And you can see our latest video. Once again, this is where there's a Wills.
There's a play.
My name's Ian.
I'm Stacey.
And we'll